Okay, my friends, this is going to be fun. I have been studying Bennu, which is an asteroid, since they went out to go and harvest some minerals from it and bring it back. And these are those minerals. Now, they did a little bit of analysis, not much, but enough that they have basically proven what I was talking about, or maybe not proven it, but they certainly can by doing a spectral analysis of the materials here, because I know basically what this is going to be. But when she talks about it, this is Dr. Maggie Liu, and they have a whole bunch of people here that had worked on this project, mappers and so forth, and I'm going to just go through this a little bit, but what she starts talking about here is the shape of the surfaces. They're uneven surfaces, and she says they got little bumps all over them. They look like almost like the heads of broccoli. And these are tiny, tiny little things, 5 millimeters. All right, here it goes.
Characterized by small round mounds and depressions that kind of look like the lumpy surface of broccoli or cauliflower. While generally dark in color, these particles occasionally include small, high reflectance phases.
All right, I'm stopping it right here. Small, high reflectance. Remember that word, high reflectance.
Phases. And this is due to different materials or minerals dispersed throughout the particles.
Now listen to this. This is really cool.
That was angular. These particles stand out due to their distinct fracturing-like patterns characterized by sharp, angular faces that result in hexagonal or polygon-like shapes. These particles have straight parallel faces, giving them a distinct geometric appearance. Some even
geometric appearance, and I can tell. I'll explain to you all of these things that she's talking about in a moment.
Exhibit some apparent layering with step-like parallel exposed faces.
Step-like parallel exposed faces. We'll talk about that.
Although they were generally dark, some of these angular particles displayed spectacular reflections.
Spectacular reflections.
Or like a metallic luster on their
metallic luster
faces. Similar to the hummocky stones, they had highly reflective inclusion.
Highly reflective inclusions
present throughout the samples. And lastly, mottled. These particles are characterized by the presence of higher reflectance material that encases or overlays the low reflectance material that makes up the bulk of the stones. Interestingly, the higher reflectance material appears to fill the cracks as
Interestingly, listen to this is amazing. Interestingly, the high reflectance material appears to fill the cracks as veins.
And typically tens of microns thick. Additionally, this...
All right, you see these squared off? These are sarcomeres. Those are muscle sarcomeres. Everything she's talking about is in the blood. And the blood has all your transition metals. The transition metals are extremely highly reflective. All right, she's going to be talking about these hummocky rocks. And here she goes.
The Bennu sample provides valuable clues about the geological processes that have shaped the asteroid's surface over time. Intriguingly, these rocks bear a resemblance to low density sedimentary formations found on Earth, like those observed in southern Italy.
They're all over Earth, so let's take a look at what I can show you about these rocks. Okay, they're pointing out hummocky cross-stratification sedimentary structures, and they say these are being found up on Bennu, and then they're talking about all the reflective particles that are in there, which are the metals, and they are found in the veins. Okay, here's Maggie again. I'm going to let her speak here.
Valuable clues about the geological processes that have shaped the asteroid's surface over time. Intriguingly, these rocks bear a resemblance to low-density sedimentary formations found on Earth.
All right, I'm going to show you the low-density formations. They're not sedimentary, they are biology. See, there you go right there. There's your same kind of rocks that are on Bennu, because it's a muscle. These are muscle sarcomeres. And when you drill down into them and look at them, they look like this right here. These are what sarcomeres are. And this is a rock from Earth This is blood, and these are sarcomeres. And those sarcomeres are the same sarcomeres they found at Bennu. Here they are right here. These are these little blocky sarcomeres. Same thing. And all these little reflective things they're showing here. This is a progressively smaller picture. This is the big one, then here, and then this one here is a little smaller, and then this one here is right down. And this is these little shiny things is what they're showing you are big to them, is make a big deal to them. That's the blood. That is the metals that are in the blood. And they're all over the place, these little shiny things. However, they collect in the veins. They even call them veins. It's just incredible. They can't see what they're seeing. This here is this bubbly surface, these little balls all over us. They look like broccoli. Well, that's the nature of tissue. And it could be blood or whatever, but the nature of tissue is to form these little capsules, these little balls. Now here is actually Bennu. This is actually Bennu right here. All right, so this is Bennu. This is a heart. It's a heart from some gigantic creature. These are the heart valves. That is actually a heart tube coming out. That also is. These are not craters. This is all the colors of blood. Black, red, and yellow are the colors of the oxides of blood. These are the valves. Now, psyche is also a heart. Here's psyche. You see this? That's what a heart is. All right, this plumbing breaks right off here, and you get down to here where you're down into this right here. All right, so that goes away. The tendon, however, stays, which is right here, and your valves are right here. It's a heart. There's just no other way to explain it. It's a heart, no question whatsoever. And this is as well. Now, psyche is also saturated with blood because it is a heart. It cooked. It must have got real close to some planet or something, and it heated up and it smelted the surface. Bennu is not smelted. Bennu is still got a bloody surface. They landed. They actually sunk down into it when they went to grab this because they were in blood. The little blood balls. They were going to be in just a pile of blood coming through that, and it's all separated out. And you saw what it looked like. All right, this is the stuff right here. This was the scraping of the muscle. That's muscle fibers. But there was all kinds of little particulates in there that were blood, and they have come out with the shiny surfaces, which is the transition metals. These are the transition metals. These are what's in your blood, and your blood is saturated with these. It's almost completely saturated with metals and watery plasma. And all these different charges carry things throughout your body and deliver products throughout your body. And that's why the metals are bright, and that's why they're in the veins. I don't see how it could be anything else, but when they do the analysis on the blood, they should be able to come out with the same products that are in normal blood. Now, they were talking about all the veins and having all of these colored products in the veins. That's because that's where the blood flows. And again, this is the sarcomeres. These are the little blocks of muscle, and here's what they are looking up. This is actually a picture of a electron microscope of muscles, and here's what they are up on Mars. Up on Bennu. The sarcomeres, and these are the blood, shiny little flakes of particles in there that are shining off because of the transition metals. They're brilliant colors, absolutely gorgeous. All right, I'm going to leave it at this. This is what she was showing, this kind of rock, which is, they thought it was all from sediments. It's not. This is a bone. This is a shoulder or something. This is the investment right here that ties it in. And this is the tendon, and this is the muscle. And here's what it looks like when you, in the little colory version. Tendons don't have any blood in them to speak of. Here's where all your blood is in the muscle. Where I showed you those sarcomeres, that's where you're going to find your blood. Where you find your blood, you're going to find your transition metals. You find your transition metals, you're going to find your reflective surfaces. This is what they're going to find in that blood. This was a study done on whole blood, which contains all of this in these quantities compared to each other. That's whole blood. This is plasma, which is a different area in the heart. Your heart pumps vein blood into your organs to get all cleaned up and stuff, and it pumps the fresh arterial blood, which is all cleaned up, back through your body. And there also is a plasma area where it's more or less lymph. So this is going to be a different type of material here in the plasma. And then you're going to have the serum, which maybe the serum is the plasma, I'm not sure, but these are all the different metals. Every one of those is a metal. These are all metals. These are all metals. This was a metal study done. Metallic profile, whole blood plasma in a series of 106 volunteers. And they're all basically had the same setup. That's what they're going to find when they do the spectral analysis of the minerals that they selected from there. Now, where they landed on Bennu, I don't know. But that's going to make a difference as to what they're going to have. Because if they landed in, one of these is going to pump artery blood, and one's going to be the vein blood, and one of them is going to be the plasma or serum. And it depends where they hit, which one they're going to get. But it's absolutely going to have all of those different metals in them, and that's all these little flashy things she's talking about. It's exactly what they're talking about. They have it in their hand. They can test this today. All they have to do is go back through that list of metals and see how much is in there. Done. Case closed. As far as I'm concerned, the case is closed already. But nobody will speak to me about this. I've been trying to get through to everybody in that mission. And they have people all over the place. They're talking, watch. You see, this is Maggie Lou, again, Dr. Maggie Lou, and she pinned this. This person, whoever it was, says, I was privileged to be on a team of citizen scientists. I begged to be able to show my stuff or to work with anybody, and nobody would even respond to me. And they marked every boulder and rock and pebble and crater, over 700 images over months, because they flew around this thing forever. They saw all the things that I just showed you. And there was all kinds of people in here that said they were all, a quick shout out to all the other Bennu mappers. Well, they had people looking. I was looking. I said, here's what you got. Here's what this is. Here's what this is. Nope. Not for Roger. Roger does not get to speak in this realm. Now, I'm going to put a comment up here to have them come and look at my information. My information is pretty valid. If they can talk against it, that's what I'd like to hear. I'd like to have that discussion. Okay, my friends, this is going to be enlightening. I put a bunch of papers up on academia.edu because I'm not allowed to publish anywhere else. So I got like 45 papers up here. Now, this was about geology and so forth, and this was about fascia and solvomorphism, which is what is a mud fossil and why does connective tissue create them in wet muds. Now, and I went to explain the whole thing, collagens and all the 9 yards of fibrous tissues in the system, and it covers your entire body, and it's a fluid-filled highway, and that's why it protected the organs and so forth the way it did. So now, then I went on to write fascia-facilitated fossilization. All right, so this one here I wrote in 2015, and I presented it to all the top universities, basically everywhere. And this was fascia-facilitated fossilization, why all the fossils were so perfectly preserved. And I presented this basically to Yale because they're right down the street from me, and then that didn't go too well. So nobody else would kick in, so I kept sending it to NASA and everybody else because I could see that the things on Mars were biology. Now let's go to that when I sent to NASA, because Yale ended up getting funded by NASA to look into mud fossils. So this is the paper Yale put out a year later, Exceptional Preservation of Soft-Bodied Creatures Promoted by Silica-Rich Oceans. Basically the same thing. And this is the guy I presented all my stuff to, Derek Briggs. I presented CAT scans, DNA, all that. Now, here's what they wrote about it in their school paper. It's about the Ediacarta organisms, which are mud fossils, rapidly buried by sand, no, by mud, during underwater storm events. which is a global flood. And this is what I presented to him. This was what caused the problem, because I have giant human beings, and they're DNA tested in CAT scans. I have the specimens here. Anybody can test them. And it's anyway, it's cementing the sands, not sand, mud around them happened rapidly. Yes, because there's a giant worldwide flood. So they say they know it happened right away, because otherwise they would have routed. So the team conducted this research using microscopes, like I do, based techniques. The research is able to measure elemental composition of elements on a micron scale, which I do. And I presented it to Derek Briggs. He's the professor of geology and geophysics and all this stuff at Yale, back when they called it geology. Well, guess what? They changed the name to call it planetary sciences. I'm not kidding you. He was a professor of geology and geophysics. Well, they changed the name. So anyway, it was supported by NASA exobiology grant, NASA postdoctoral fellowship, Foundation Complex Life. I sent all this stuff to NASA too, and I said, you guys got biology all over Mars. The Mars crab, the Mars Morse code, Mars blueberries, all biology. And then I find out that for some reason, NASA went to Yale to see if it could happen, and yes, Yale says yes. Exceptional preservation, cementing a theory about the sea creatures of the Edikara biota. They have this pretty much wrong, but they understand that yes, these creatures are, preserved fantastically. Well, here's the title of their paper: Exceptional Preservation of Soft Body. They just put this name in themselves. Promoted by silica-rich oceans, and exactly, it was a great flood. And the same thing happened to Mars. Mars was impacted by Venus. It knocked off their atmosphere. They have no more atmosphere. That's why it's so dry up there. Okay, I'm going to sort of wrap it up a little bit here. They did find, NASA and Curiosity, they found fossils on Mars. And then they just said, oh no, people are just crazy. And here's what they found. This is the Mars crab, they called it. And they said, oh, that's just pareidolia, let's just go look somewhere else. No, that is an artery. And these are the little blood vessels coming off to serve as the sarcomere tissues that are muscle. And up above is the vein, which is the return. And this is it right down here. And this is all muscle sarcomeres. That's why they're blocked off like that in little flaps. And here's what they look like in, hold on a second, I don't have any here, hold on. All right, these are the sarcomeres, and what happens is all the red fleshy stuff that's in there erodes right out of them, and you end up with these little connective tissues and eroded blocks. And that's what you see up on Mars. I alerted NASA to this. And of course everybody, I tried everybody. Because this is what it is. You can't miss it once you understand the biology. It's just so big that their eyes can't open that big. And this is from NASA. And then they went to Yale and had Yale say yes, mud fossils they happen. And then they put a whole new spin on it. And this is also up on Mars. It's called the Mars Morse code. And this here is the interstitium, which is just nothing more than the webbing of your flesh underneath so that it comes back to where it's supposed to be. The balls are anchors. Not a drop of water has ever touched this for thousands of years. It's just been dusted off. So this is on Mars, no question whatsoever. It's not on Earth. You cannot get this effect on Earth. This is impossible. Now this is squished tissues, and this is stretched tissues. That's why they're strong. It's very, very simple to understand this once you understand what the human body is constructed of. And these are the Mars blueberries, which are nothing more than the little balls after everything else erodes away and you get down to the basement layer. These are identical to the Moki marbles here on Earth. Now this is why Mars is dead. It got impacted, and it was impacted by Venus, was what was said in the ancient texts. A fiery comet, which turned out to be Venus, impacted, and Venus has a gigantic scar on it. Venus is the same size as Earth, and Mars is a little smaller, and it hit there and just wiped out the atmosphere and just killed everything. All the moisture's gone, all the water vaporized, and now it has virtually no real atmosphere to speak of, and you don't get any water there. That's why I can tell exactly what's up on Mars and what's here on Earth. They practice here on Earth, absolutely, no question they do. But up on Mars, there's no erosion, there's no rivulets, there's no water runoff. And that's how you can get these absolutely flawless things. It's just almost like somebody dusting them off. Have you ever seen them going over in Egypt and they take these little brushes and they brush? That's what the basic same thing. It's basically saying there's no water erosion there. Alright, Mars is identical to Earth, only it's dead now, and Earth is right on the edge. Now this is the interstitium, which is the fluid-filled highway, which is the Mars Morse code, which has dusted off, and you can see all these with the balls and straps shown quite clearly. These are the Moki marbles, which are identical to the Mars blueberries. It's all eroded off. This is nothing more than skin and tissue and eroding out these balls, which are the interstitium balls that anchor it. And whatever else runs off here into mud. All right, you see it? These are not stromatolites that just grow here just by themselves. They are invaded by little sea creatures that are growing on the still vital flesh, because it comes right out of here and it's still red, nice and red blood on it. All right, now here it's all washed off, so it's gone, but here there's still the mud is still all around it, and it's what it is. Now the other thing is all the dating is completely off, because they date everything by layers. They say, oh, this was a layer, there was a big storm, and then this happened, and then that happened, and then a meteorite hit, and all this kind of stuff. Well, that is biology. That's a tendon. Right there, that's a tendon. That's why it's so tough. Tough. Here would have been a bone, and here is where the muscle starts. And it anchors to the bone with that little round spot, and then the muscle comes out. I think I have some shots of this. Hold on. Yeah, right here. You see that? That's, well, what we were looking at, sticking up in the ocean, is this right here. And that is tough. That's why it didn't erode. Why would it be sticking up by itself? These are all those layers, and that's that round, heavy-duty spot right in the center. The bone was here. You see, the bone would have been up here in this shot. Now, but this is the same muscle. Now, the muscle starts here. And it just erodes out here, it just falls apart. You see the little blocks, just because by that time you're into almost all sarcomeres. Between the transition between tendon, which is all fibers, you get a ton of fibers, and then less and less and less, and then it goes into sarcomeres and they just fall apart. So that's what we're seeing in the ocean. It's not thousands of millions of years. You see that? There's that anchor, the center of the tendon. And the reason it didn't fall apart is because it's tendon. Tendon has very, very little blood and a lot of tough stuff. Bone eroded, no problem. Muscle eroded, no problem. Flesh, problem. All right, I want to talk about something now that is a repercussion of understanding mud fossils. It's literally a repercussion. And someone, a very, very nice subscriber, said she had a grandson, or she has the grandson who's going to be going back to school and going to be able to tell everybody about these mud fossils. And I said, whoa, that's good, or it could be very bad for the kid. That's a tough one. How they approach presenting it to the other kids, well, the kids normally going to be receptive to this because you can't miss it. You just cannot miss this. It's unmissable. And it's just what she said. Her grandson can't. He just absolutely understands everything, and you can't miss this once you're past like 6-7 years old. It's hard to deny unless you are programmed against it severely, and I mean it would have to be very severe. At that age, you're smart enough to realize when you're being hoodwinked. Once you get into academia, you're already what's called mentalcited. All right. At some point, they have to start listening and paying attention. Teachers have to be held accountable. But right now, menticide refers to intentional, systematic undermining of a person's conscious mind or brainwashing. That's exactly what happens in schools. If you speak up, they'll say, no, you're wrong, And if you keep saying that, I'll fail you. What do you do? And that's what happened to me. I fought back, and actually I won. I challenged the professor to a duel, basically figuring out an equation about dipole molecular moments of polar molecules. He was so lost. It was so hysterical. Anyway, but you can't do that and get away with it. You're just not going to get away with it. They're going to destroy you. And I'm worried about this kid going back to school, a very young kid. I want to find out what's the impact on him going to be. To actually go for truth. What's going to be his final impact? You know, the final showdown. Let me just put it this way. I'm going to stop right now. If we don't all start talking and accept the blowback, we will never get truth. All right? But you have to be honest and truthful. You can't start talking about crazy things that you have no evidence to support, and there's all kinds of evidence that goes against it. That's what academia does. It's just unbelievable how opposite it is. Academia is to push back against knowledge. They're not there to get you knowledge. They're there to support their own claims of concocted stories for funding. Basically, I'm telling you, that's what I found. And if you can find something different, I'd like you to explain it to me. All right, I love you all. Thanks, bye. See, this just came out just, a day or so ago. Mars rover finds 3 possible signs of ancient life on a single rock. It's all over. It's everywhere there. Now they're going to have to admit it now. They have to. All right, that's all I have to say for today. Thank you. I love you all. I guess a bunch of other videos coming up because there's a bunch of things we have to discuss, and I guess we're just going to have to discuss them.